This week's podcast is sponsored by His Glorious Draconic Majesty Cordis, the Almighty, the ever-living flame, destroyer of life, scourge of the northern reaches and the southern reaches and the reaches in between, burner of the unburnt, and killer of bunnies. Did I read that right?
All the tabletop role-playing news. We aim to amuse and we aim to enthuse. And Morrus is unofficial tabletop RPG.
Hello, and welcome to Morrus's unofficial tabletop RPG talk. I, as always, am Russ, aka Morrus, or Morrus, aka Russ, and with me this week
It's Coffee from the Southampton Guild of Role Players. Russ, as ever, it's an absolute paroxysmal pleasure to be here. And wait, a third player has arrived.
A guest.
A guest.
It cannot be.
I guess it can. I believe this is that Mike Myler, I see.
So this is Mike's second appearance on the podcast. And what are you here to talk about this week, Mike?
RPGs, but also Vast Kaviya.
Yes,
An excellent
we'll
choice.
get into that a little bit later, but that's your upcoming D&D 5th edition setting, which is going to be crowdfunding very soon, yeah?
Yes.
How exciting.
Yes, lovely. Right, let's get on with some RPG news, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
First thing in the actual RPG news is
Yes.
Metal Weave Games getting the license to Hyper Light Drifter.
Oh, yes, that's a game on Steam, I think. It's like a 2D action-adventure. So they've got the license to produce a tabletop role-playing game from a computer role-playing game.
Oh, Metal Weave's great. Andreas Walters is great. I saw that he's probably going to pull through. It was a little chancy at the beginning there, but I think he's going to be all right.
Okay.
What? I don't even know what that means.
Oh, so his Kickstarter launched, and it did not do as well as his Kickstarters normally do, and he kind of, I don't want to say panicked, but like his output of marketing and stuff went up a lot.
Oh, right,
okay.
I see.
Yeah, so I think he's going to end up funding, but like
It's going to be quite close,
first,
yeah.
Oh, right, yeah. Ah. Have you played Hyper Light Drifter?
No, I have not.
Okay.
It looks neat, though.
So they've released some playtest basic rules,
Right.
and it's like 50 pages, PDF, obviously.
Nice.
It has like character creation and combat rules and stuff, and you can make like a bird folk wielder, or it says here a lizard folk versifier.
Well, that's us told.
I do like to be a versifier.
Yes.
Yeah, and it kind of invokes the sort of slightly pixelated old style video game art style.
I think you're trying to say 8-bit and 16-bit there, aren't you?
That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of a bit retro looking. And I think they're doing a Kickstarter, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got a Kickstarter running.
Huh. Apparently, its lead developer describes Hyper Light Drifter as a combination of, and I quote, The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past, and Diablo.
Yeah.
Well.
In Drifter, you play as a drifter.
Yes.
One who ventures outside
Some
the
sort
safety
of hobo,
the
might
sanctuaries in search of technology and answers.
Right.
Sounds good to me. You
Productive.
could be a raven wielder, or a hound warrior,
Or can be
or a
dual-
raccoon versifier.
Well, you can't make raccoons worse than they already are.
Raccoons are pretty versatile.
They are. But I'd like to be a dual-wielding raven wielder.
Wow. When I woke up this morning, that's not what I expected to happen.
Were you not?
Listeners can't see, but you did actually flap your arms around as well.
Hey, you got to do your best drum rolling impression when dual-wielding, otherwise it just doesn't count.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Thanks for that.
Hey, you're very welcome.
Would you like to hear about a wrestler?
The wrestler guy, right?
Yeah.
Is it RPG related?
Yes.
Then yes, I would.
Okay, so there's this wrestler, right? And he posted on Twitter that he doesn't play Dungeons and Dragons.
Many people don't play Dungeons and Dragons.
So he's called Maxwell Jacob Friedman.
Oh, how fortunate for the
And
poor
he tweeted this picture of himself in a tank top. Big muscly picture of himself.
So,
And then
his
the
genius fashion
caption
choices,
is,
what of it?
the caption is, I don't play Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay. I don't do professional wrestling.
Yeah.
I don't feel police in the world about it.
Well, half the internet exploded, as the internet is wont to do, and then Joe,
our friend Joe. We're on such good terms with him now that we no longer mangle his last name.
Joe
Manganiello, his last name.
He tweets.
Yes.
He responds. He tweets, "I do," and he posts this Muscle and Fitness magazine cover of him shirtless.
Okay.
Like looking equally muscly and sort of, six-packy.
Oh, okay.
Just kind of glaring down at the camera.
Oh, is this sort of a jocks versus nerds sort of thing?
I suppose.
That sounds like 1998.
Well, it turns out really. So what it was this wrestler.
Yes.
His upcoming opponent.
Is he a big fan of?
Is a big fan of D&D.
Oh, I see.
And so, and wrestlers do all this smack talk stuff, don't they?
Yes.
And you've got faces and heels or something. And this guy's the heel, and he's smack talking the guy who likes D&D.
Right.
So he's got to be character, really. He's not.
Oh, I see. Right.
But most of the internet didn't get that.
No, it seems very small. Taken in isolation, it's like I don't play D&D. Good for you, sir. Are you more of a vampire man?
Yes. It turns out
That's why he's
well into the world of darkness.
Absolutely. Like at the weekends, he does proper vampire LARP and everything, and plays Count Alessandro de Urbane, and has like a long, frilly blonde wig and like a hat, and of course the big cape as well. Because you're not properly vampire-ing unless you've got the cape.
Would you instead like to talk about 216,000 D6s being spilled onto an Atlanta highway?
What was somebody on their way to a game of 50 children and their dice back burst?
Exactly, yeah. So it was a shipment of Chessex dice on a truck.
And good dice.
And there was this minor accident and hundreds of thousands of dice just spill all over this highway. They're all D6s.
Oh, thank God. As long as you weren't D4s, otherwise someone could have died.
Yes, I know. Caltrops. All these tyres exploding.
Look at humanity.
It is quite funny, actually. I wonder what they rolled. According to this headline, they rolled 756,000, but I'm guessing they made that up. I
don't think they counted those numbers properly at all.
So Atlanta's highway emergency response operator units had to help clean up the mess using brooms and shovels to salvage what they could.
Oh, poor Chessex. I hope they're not adversely affected by the loss of their shipment. No.
I'm sure Chessex is fine. I bet they insured that. They're all good.
That's good.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Was I supposed to take this in place for me?
Well, it's 200,000 dice. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows? The truck was undamaged.
Yeah.
And no one was injured. So that's always good. Right. Are you guys familiar with Mad Magazine?
Yeah. I love Mad Magazine.
That was something old people used to read, wasn't it?
Well, I've heard of it, but I've never actually seen or read it myself.
Robert Crumb or something. It's like got lots of very strange illustrations and like to go for a sort of a shock level of content, as I recall. I haven't read it myself, to be fair, so yeah, I'll press say. Yeah, tell us more.
They have an upcoming feature called the Dopiest Demons of D&D.
Oh.
Yes.
Which is, I don't know much about it. There's over on D&D Beyond, there's a preview of it, and you can see this big cartoony look with a bunch of silly-looking demons, and the writer says it's that these demons are not actually in Dungeons and Dragons, because Mad Magazine is not the most reliable of news sources. Instead, demons that would be the dopiest if some player were foolish enough to will them into existence. So I'm guessing what we're talking is a bunch of comedy demons that aren't actually in D&D.
Maybe.
Okay.
I mean, the mad people, sometimes they go completely off the page, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's a little clip here. There's a Kachevin. Kachevin is like that guy Kevin in your D&D group who doesn't get along with your dungeon master. Kachevin says everything Kevin says, but in a whiny, sarcastic voice. Loves bringing only enough pizza for himself and texting his significant other during important combat. Come on, Kachevin. and more stuff like that.
I see.
I can see you're not sold.
Yeah, no, this is my impressed face. Surely you can see it.
There's Heckfella. After failing 2 attempts at a movie franchise, Hellboy's intellectual property was sold and rebranded to help launch a new kids' line of adventures. Cannot cause damage or be killed. Carries a pet goldfish named Abe.
That's really harsh. Hellboy's really good. I like all the Hellboy movies. So
I haven't seen the latest one.
Yeah, that's right. I liked it. He didn't have Ron Perlman, so I wasn't expecting to like it. But actually, I found it was quite fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
I quite like the first one. The second one was a bit weak. Haven't seen the latest.
Yeah, it's like Luke Goss can only carry a film so far.
Yeah. What else have we got in the news? We have got the Cortex RPG rule system has been purchased from Margaret Weiss Productions by Fandom.
Okay.
I think Fandom, isn't that a wiki hosting company?
Oh,
that sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's like a wiki hosting company stroke entertainment website type thing. And they've acquired the Cortex RPG rule system.
Oh, Fandom is a wiki hosting service and domain operated by Wikia, which is one that Wikipedia is associated with, Jimmy Wells and Angela Beasley. Okay, so that's interesting.
They've also hired Cam Banks, who was the lead designer of the system.
Ooh.
Makes sense.
And then that system was used for the Marvel game, the Firefly game, Battlestar Galactica, Supernatural. There's a Smallville one as well, I think. It's a whole bunch of licensed properties.
Oh, mate, guys, I tell you what, they have there's a website, fandom.com.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, okay. Obviously they don't have anything to do with RPGs.
Interesting. So Fandom acquired Curse.
Yeah.
And Curse owns D&D Beyond.
Oh, yeah.
So Curse used to be owned by Twitch, and Fandom acquired it from them. So it seems like Fandom is purchasing a whole bunch of different RPG properties.
Oh.
Some nefarious plan going on here. What's going on here?
Well, they're up to something.
Yeah, well, this basically puts Fandom in the print RPG business, doesn't it?
I guess, yeah. Especially with Cypher.
Well, it says here in this press release, not only will they be publishing the Cortex Prime books, they also plan to produce licensed games based on entertainment properties.
That's what I was trying to figure out. I was like, what are they licensing? Because they...
don't know.
I mean, they got wikis for everything. They definitely don't have licenses for all their wikis. You don't need one. I don't know what they pay for one.
No.
How mysterious. Well, I guess we'll find out soon enough.
Well, I guess they got a lot of subject knowledge. Well, like, what was it? Last week, Carnival Row had a RPG release at the same time as the series. So maybe that's like a thing. It's like get rules like came out there.
Fandom, so it'll own its own RPG system. It owns D&D Beyond.
Yes.
And it owns a wiki hosting platform.
Well, I would think the D&D Beyond part is they're going to take all the D&D Beyond infrastructure and lay it on another RPG to it.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it's not a bad shout. I mean, the Cypher system, which I haven't played, but as I understand it, it's pretty light and easy to use. Does use the D20 Cortex system? Oh, sorry, my bad. I thought you said Cypher.
Entirely different game.
Entirely different.
Different game.
Yeah, Cortex is closer to Tri-DX, right? Wasn't it like more number heavy, crunchy?
Oh yeah, it's more crunchy than it's still medium lightish, but it's more crunchy than the Cypher system. We got a couple of Pathfinder bits.
Yes, tell me more.
So Paizo have previewed 2 different organisations from their Lost Omens character guide. So these are the Firebrands and the Hell Knights.
They sound very similar,
but I'm sure they're entirely different.
Hell Knights, I know, are an old favorite. They really put a lot into the Hell Knights in the first time around.
Are Firebrands revolutionaries?
Well, the Firebrands are... let's have a look. Who are the Firebrands? Some say they are rebels and rebel-rousers. who travel the inner sea region to fight tyranny and help the oppressed. There we go. They're
Good
the
name for them,
18.
then.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can find them.
Others say they are just grandstanders with a penchant for fashion and drawing attention to themselves.
Ooh, fashionable demagogues.
There's a picture of a nice lady with a pirate hat and a pistol and a rapier and a small halfling type with blue hair and a green lady with a thing on a chain on a spike. A thing on a chain on a spike.
Oh, Russ, with those words, you paint such a picture. Unfortunately, it's not perhaps the picture you intend to create.
It's like a rope, and on the end of the rope, there's this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spiked thing sticking out, and then you can swing the rope round. It's like a grapple, but it looks more weapony.
So it's sort of like a mace on chain, but it's on a rope.
I guess, yeah. I suppose.
Okay.
Or maybe it is a grapple. It's just a slightly odd-looking grapple. I don't know. How am I supposed to know?
Because you're looking at the picture.
I'm looking at the picture, yeah. All right. Fine. Anyway,
about the Hell Knights, Mike?
That was the Firebrands. Yeah, there's the Hell Knights. Do you know about the Hell Knights, Mike?
They're knights for hell, and I assume Cheliax. Actually, no, it's definitely Cheliax, because I remember they were a big part of that one adventure path that's set in Cheliax.
Let's have a look. Hell Knights
Cheliax?
Yeah, Cheliax is their, Asmodeus is not that bad a guy country.
Yeah, so they're an organisation, much of which is located in Cheliax, and it's dedicated to enforcing law and upholding order, and they believe the letter of the law is absolute.
Seems reasonable.
Yes, so they're basically super lawful neutral, I suppose. Then, I guess.
Yeah.
And then we've got a picture. Of they look quite evil. If they're, I don't know.
That's where all the best GMs come from.
Well, there's a picture of this kind of guy with a purple helmet and ragged purple robes and a big whip.
Is it a mighty warrior with a purple helmet?
Or it might be a chain, but I think it's a whip.
Yeah.
And they follow a set of laws and virtues known as the measure and the chain.
All right then.
And then we've got this other guy who's got really, really bizarre looking spiky armour, and he's got a sword, and on the end of the sword there's a short chain hanging off it, and then there's a mace head on the end of the short chain.
So it's taking the best parts of a sword and a mace, combining them together, producing an entirely unusable weapon. An interesting choice.
Yeah, I guess so.
I'm just saying, if you
unless
put
that's some kind of weird perspective
your...
trick, and it's not actually attached to that, but I think it is.
If you put a mace on a chain on the end of your sword, the bullets will be all over the shot, man.
I get what you're saying. I don't disagree with you. Anyway, so that's the two organisations that Paizo has just previewed, and each of these organisations you get special feats.
Ooh.
And
that's pretty much going to be the thing. Hopefully there won't be any feat chains. Hopefully they'll keep the beauty of Pathfinder 2, which is that there's very little difference between the bottom of the skill and the top of the skill. So it's basically whatever you make will work. So yeah, fingers crossed, eh?
There's one more bit of Pathfinder news. Critical hit deck.
Ooh.
You sound excited, Mike.
Yeah, no, I have the critical hit decks from the original Pathfinder, and they're pretty sweet.
I assume it's pretty much similar. So when you get a critical hit, you draw a card from the deck and apply the effect appropriate to that attack's type.
Are they not doing the critical fumble deck too, or?
I think they have done, or are doing, but this is what they're previewing. So we've got effects like My Teeth. The target must succeed at a DC 5 flat check to cast spells with the verbal component until healed.
Alright then.
Carve your initials. The Zorro move. Normal damage. The target is so humiliated it can do nothing but attack you. At the end of its turns, it can attempt a will save to end this effect.
That's a new one. I like that one.
Other stuff like that. And some of them are a little less interesting, like triple damage or...
Yeah.
Or, the target is sickened 3 or stuff like that. But there are some more, colourful ones in there. Root role-playing game?
Yes, we should talk about that. That's doing really, really well.
Big old Kickstarter that after 3 days has done already £225,000 or $281,000 of a goal of $10,000.
I gotta say, it's kind of ludicrous.
That's a lot of money.
That's
and they've still got 27
27
days to go.
Yeah. Well, indeed. Well, you might whistle, sir. Well, you might whistle. Oh, it's just gone off again. Somebody's back to it. I presume Mike. So, Mike, have you played Root, the board game?
I have not. No, I'm not really a board game guy.
A game of woodland creatures.
Yes. I have. So none of us have ever actually played Root.
No.
But I, however, have heard of it.
But it is, however, a popular board game.
Yes. A very popular board game. It's won awards for something.
Yes.
Possibly being a very good board game. Because it's asymmetric in its nature, which means that you have, I think there's like 4 different factions. There's cats that are trying to like rock around the place and be a problem. There are, I think it's squirrels. They're basically arms dealers and they're shipping weapons to the various sides. And then you've got like some other small woodland creatures who formed a tiny alliance who are trying to kick the cats out. I think the ravens are in there doing something, but I couldn't tell you what it was.
Well, the RPG is a Powered by the Apocalypse game.
Of course it is. Lots of playbooks for days.
Yeah.
It's an easy system to wedge stuff into, do anything with Powered by the Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It'll be interesting to see how high this
on.
goes. I guess this has a chance of hitting $1 million then.
This stage, are they a full week? They're not even a full weekend. Yeah, they got a chance,
Yeah.
That'd be pretty impressive.
Yeah. That'll be, if it does hit $1 million, that'll make it the 3rd biggest. So I think we've got Matt Colville did 2.3 million or something. John Wick did 1.3 million, something like that.
Okay. So their last Kickstarter for the board game made 631 American thousand. That's a lot.
For the board game?
For the board game, they hit 2/3 for the board game.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
So,
board games generally do better than role-playing games, don't they?
Yeah, no, it looks like this might do better than the board game, though.
Yeah,
which
that'd be weird, but okay.
I'm down with that trend, dude. Let's do more of that.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Yeah.
I'd give it a go. I mean, it's Powered by the Apocalypse, so and I think with that you have to really know the story the game wants you to tell, because it's designed very specifically to tell certain stories, which apparently includes stuff like
Right, should we delve into a little bit of D&D before we finish the news?
Yeah. Well, I do notice Root specifically calls out Redwall, which would be the Brian Jack series, Watership Down, which is the source of many childhood traumas. You know what I'm saying? Mouse Guard, which I believe is actually a role-playing game itself. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also The Warriors, which I presume is not the 1970s film of New York gang warfare, which played upon the Odyssey, and, quote, The Guardians of Ga'Hoole, unquote. Which...
that was the Weird Owl. They had a bunch of movies at a poor. I remember it was very poorly timed.
Right.
I don't remember anything else about the movies aside from they were poorly timed and they were like gold masks for the owls or some shit like that.
They were poorly timed, as in what they were.
As in their releases just were at a bad moment, and they were competing against films that just crushed them.
Oh, like they decided, hey, you know what we need? We need Guardians of Ga'Hoole. And there's some film coming out called Harry Potter?
Yeah, something like that.
What could go wrong? Oh, that could go wrong. Yeah, okay. All right, fair enough. Hey, Russ, you said you had some D&D for us to talk about?
I did. I got some D&D stuff. I got 2 D&D things.
2
3
D&D things?
3 D&D things.
So we've got the announcement, the trailer for the announcement, and the teaser for the trailer for the announcement.
Yeah.
Love it.
So the first D&D thing is I just got a message from those guys who are doing that Solasta video game. And what we talked about with the verticality and all that stuff.
Yeah, that looks quite interesting. Yeah.
He just sent me a quick message. He's just saying we were recently granted a license by Wizards to use the D&D SRD 5.1 rule set in Solasta.
Wait,
I'm not sure what that means, because the SRD is an open
source.
It's open. Yeah, it's open gaming content,
gaming license,
so they don't need permission. But I guess.
But he said 5.1.
The 3.0 OGL had a specific clause in it saying you can't make a video game with this.
Don't think it did. There's only one OGL. There wasn't a 3.0 OGL. There's never been more than one OGL.
Well, it's cool that they got the...
But anyway, yeah, I guess it was more just a peace of mind thing.
Yes, yeah.
Just more kind of getting their blessing as opposed to, Because I guess with that sort of thing, if you make a mistake, then obviously Wizards is going to come down on you. And when you're making a video game, it's a lot more complex than making a rule book. So I wonder if it was just so they had more peace of mind, just so they knew perfectly well that Wizards of the Coast were aware of them and were fine with it.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to get permission and so forth.
Yeah. Even if you don't need it, yeah. What else did we have? We also have, right, a new Arcana. There was one like 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
And there's another one. We went like 6 months without one, and we've had about 3 in the last month, I think.
Well, they said they were switching away from doing it on a, was it monthly basis? Mm-hmm. To just release it when it was ready. So there you go. I guess they're ready.
Yeah. Well, this one has a new Bardic College, the College of Eloquence, and a new sacred oath for the Paladin, the Oath of Heroism.
Alrighty.
You look excited.
Well, it's like eloquence, heroism. It's like bards being eloquent is like
a thing
shtick.
that they do. Yeah.
It's like
Paladins being heroic. No.
What? Get out of here with your crazy
What madness is this?
Yeah. So, I mean, just from the names, it doesn't sound like they're pushing the boat out. So it doesn't make me excited. Is there something I should be excited about, Russ?
If you're excited about D&D subclasses, yes. If you're not, then no, I guess.
I'm often known to be excited about D&D subclasses. Do you have any more details?
I could open up the PDF and read it to you if you like, or...
Well, that sounds exciting. Well, perhaps we should save that. Perhaps we should save that for another time.
Yeah, maybe. Save it as a bedtime story, perhaps.
Oh, marvellous.
Yeah.
What do you think, Mike?
When I tuck you in at night.
I found out what I was thinking of. There is a thing they talk about computer languages inside of the legal information of the ESRD.
Okay.
I don't know. I looked at the newest Unearthed Arcana and I wasn't inspired or anything. Like I've already created stuff that kind of already does what those things do.
Yeah. Okay.
The further you are into the third-party market, the less interesting Unearthed Arcana gets.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. I can't really argue with that at all. Especially given the fact that we publish things similar to that every week, but
exactly
generally with higher production values and not as playtest material.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. You hear that, Wizards? New world's coming for you.
Yeah, it's not quite how I meant it. Dear me.
We digress.
Anyway, there is a Avernus DM screen, was the other bit of information, was the other thing I was going to say.
Yes.
Which isn't entirely surprising, because they do one with every adventure. I do like the look of this one, though. Mm-hmm. Some of them look better and some look worse than others, I think. This one, on the inside, it's got that map of, that big map of Avernus.
Oh, yes, the conceptual map.
Yeah.
Jared Blando.
Yeah. And then we got stats for things like the war machines and various different creatures. It's quite small. I can't quite make out everything on it. Let's have a look.
Is this like a quadruple?
We've got a list of the 9 hells. I can see the title. I can't actually read the words underneath it. And then a section on infernal contracts, and then 99 devil names.
99 devil names?
99 devil names.
Not red balloons. Those are different things.
Yes. I have 99 devil names, and Peter's not one.
Yeah.
Yes. God, that was so funny.
Yes, look, if you've got devil name problems, I feel bad for you saying I got 99 problems, but devil name's not one. Is what you should be saying.
But it's not what I said. I made a much better joke than that.
Yes, you did. Anyone tell you differently? Yes, for those of you who are interested in what the screen actually looks like, we have essentially a very large plain, and there are 2 armies of roving Argorgles on either side, pounding towards each other as explosions occur centre stage. That big
picture reminds me of a Star Wars scene.
Yeah.
It looks like it's lots of laser bolts flying backwards and forwards, and I don't know. I can totally see that picture as being like, that big fight at the end of Attack of the Clones, or something like that.
Yeah, I guess it's like bolts of energy flying around whilst you're
While two sides charge at each other, which is basically how all Star Wars battles work.
Yeah.
Nobody ever tries to flank anybody or try any type of tactic whatsoever. They just go right in front of each other and fight.
Yeah, just rush towards each other in a disorganised line. I mean, let's face it, you might just be better off just forming a musket line, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, but at least those stormtroopers wear that really, really good armour that protects them from injuries and from attacks from the opposing side.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's not like it could be taken down by any sort of like fluffy, woofy teddy bear with a flint spear or a stick. Yeah. Oh no, the teddy bears are coming for us. They have sticks. Why weren't we prepared for this?
Oh, well. I think we're probably done in the news now. Right, I think we are now finally done with the news.
It's time to play our favourite game. It's time to play the game. Our favourite game in all the world. Guess the Kickstarter from just the name.
You know what time it is, though?
I make it about 3:20.
Yes, and that is the time when we play our favourite game in all the world.
Our favourite game in all the world? Our favouriteest game, the game we like best ever?
Yes, that game.
Oh, okay, but I get to be the top hat.
You've made that joke so many times. Right.
Yes.
Are you guys ready for this?
I am prepared, yes.
Are you ready, Peter?
Let us commence.
Take the position.
Just out of curiosity, what if one of us was not prepared?
I guess they'd lose. I don't know.
Just automatically lose? Like, I gotta go to the bathroom. You lost.
Being unprepared makes very little difference.
Yes, it wouldn't affect anything, would it?
It's not going to affect the scores.
All right, do you want to start, Peter?
Very well, I shall commence.
Okay, number one.
Yes.
What is glitter hearts?
That's an easy one. It's not fair. I don't even know what I'm going to get, but it's not fair that he got that one.
Glitter hearts.
Glitter hearts.
So we're saying this is definitely an RPG and not a line of toys being sold to young female children in the 1980s. Just checking.
I didn't say that, but I'll say that if you wish, if that will give you more comfort.
Off you go.
No. I refuse. Yes, it's an RPG. Yes.
Huzzah! Okay. So, glitter hearts. I think glitter hearts is a game aimed at children of all types who would like to play RPGs. So, like sort of, and it will have exciting themes involving adventure, potentially some action, maybe even mild peril. The key people that will play it will be I'm presuming from the name that it's a queer-friendly RPG, and all your protagonists will basically have hearts that are full of glitter, but this will very rarely be relevant because no one's ever going to pull out all the hearts and make it explode all over the place. Unless your DM's gone very badly wrong. That's my best shot at it. And also it is powered by the apocalypse.
It is powered by the apocalypse. Wow. Okay.
There we go. Yeah.
I think you've just scored yourself 11 out of 10 there.
Victory!
That's amazing. So it's based on things like Sailor Moon and Power Rangers, and it's basically a magical girls RPG with a bit of anime and sort of teamwork and magical heroes and stuff like that. Presumably aimed more at kids, I guess, it looks like. So I think that's pretty much what you said, isn't it?
I guess, yeah.
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 Well done.
Yeah.
You are to be commended, sir.
Did you know that one, Mike, already? Or did you just think it was
I
absurd
had
easy?
seen a tweet about it, but I mean, as soon as I saw the name, I was like, oh, it's Magical Girls RPG.
Oh, okay, well.
You
unlucky.
walked by the apple tree and slammed your face into an apple. That was... Watch, I'm going to get the most obscure... Go for it. What do I got?
I have
Is it a number?
No idea
It's just going to be a number.
Mike, it's considered bad form to make excuses for your terrible guesswork and to laugh after you've heard the title of the Kickstarter. If you do it before, it just sounds gentlemanly.
Are you ready, Mike?
Bring it. Let's do it.
What is... Okay. Hang on, I'm just reading it first.
Okay, for a second there, I was like, did he say it? And I just blocked it out of my memory. Like, okay.
Sorry. Yeah, okay. What is... Niobe returns in She Is Death and the Untamed?
Isn't that the comic book for Swordsfall?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. You know what that one is?
I actually know that one is, yeah.
Yeah.
Swordsfall is an Afro-centric RPG. Afropunk, I think they call it.
Oh, nice. Right? Sword and sorcery, eh?
Not so much. I mean, I wouldn't want to say. I wouldn't want to be wrong. But yeah.
Well, my friend.
Well, since you actually know what that one is, let's move on to another one, because this one instead then, Mike, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
What is D20NN? D20NN.
It's a game where you play as teenage girls who have magical powers.
Wait a minute.
No, so D20NN. I'm gonna go with Tabletop Magazine. Is it Tabletop Magazine?
Sort of. Yeah, it's a tabletop. It's a news network show.
Oh.
Okay. A news program about events going on in your tabletop game world, plus real-world interviews with tabletop RPG creators, big and small.
Wow. So
we maybe just
what we're doing.
Too hard on ourselves here, because these are actually extremely well named for what they are. Because I can't imagine what
it's got 5 days to go. Would be. It's just funded. It had a $2,000 goal. It's got $2,013. So it must have literally just funded, and it's got 5 days to go. Right, okay. So, Peter, back to you.
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. Barbarians of the Ruined Earth.
I wonder if this is in some fashion a sequel using the Barbarians of Lemuria system. And this would not be Barbarians of the Apocalypse, because that's already been a game for several years. So Barbarians of the Ruined Earth would be, say, using the Barbarian system, and perhaps it's looking at a Numenera style take on like the whole Barbarians of Lemuria mythos, where it's a far-flung future where there's a mix of magic and technology all bouncing around off each other, or magic that's indistinguishable from technology and technology that's indistinguishable from magic. How's that?
Not bad. You got the system wrong, but everything else is pretty much right. It's a fantasy post-apocalyptic RPG inspired by Thundar the Barbarian.
Okay.
And it uses the Black Hack as its system.
Oh, yeah. Fair enough. That's hack of, I think, basic BX or something like that.
Yeah, it's an OSR.
Yeah, OSR mod.
Hack of one of the early D&D editions. So in that case, you pretty much got everything but the system. So I reckon that's 75% there. Not bad. Woo-hoo. Not a bad score. 75% plus 11 means you're on 86. That totally makes sense.
That's what the spreadsheet says.
Yes. Okay.
That really makes sense.
Time to Judge Dredd RPG, everybody.
Right, one more for Mike, and then we can start talking about your campaign setting, Mike.
Go, Mike, you can do it.
Thank you for the encouraging words, Peter.
I like to encourage people. That's why I might not come back.
Okay. All right, then. What is retired?
Retired. I'm gonna go with a downtime game where you play out the lives of retired adventurers as they move into old age and senility and all that fun stuff. Preferably in a retirement village where there are also retired monsters.
I reckon you've got about 50-50 there. It is Sort of, but it's about retired superheroes.
Oh, that makes much more
supervillains,
sense.
in fact. A story game about the ordinary life of a former supervillain.
Oh, I've gone completely wrong there. I'd have done with something like Blade Runner.
Oh, yeah, where you get retired. I could see that.
Yeah. Or
So
maybe
it's
Spies.
a two-player game. One is the retiree, and the other is the narrator, of a world dead set on annoying a former supervillain trying to enjoy a return to regular life.
I think that was just the original Tick series, wasn't it?
I haven't
like
seen
the
Tick.
live-action one? It's great. It's great.
All right, I think we have finished our favourite game in all the world for the week.
Oh.
I think we have to declare Peter as the winner.
Yeah.
Much to my regret.
Well played, Mike. Thank you for
Much
giving
as I
that.
hate doing that.
Yeah. But sometimes you just nail it.
Another fine day of torment here on the first layer of hell. It's a good time to be a devil.
Actually, my friend, I'm afraid we have to go to work.
Work? What? I haven't been to work in at least 6 millennia.
I'm afraid so. They've just released a new adventure about descending into Avernus, and we're all over it.
Really? Didn't they recently do one with Orcus and Demogorgon?
No, that was totally different. It was them demons, not us devils. And it was out of the abyss, not into Avernus.
It's all lower plane stuff round here. But can't they just get Tiamat to do it?
Oh, she had her turn about 5 years back. A big 2-part adventure.
Oh, well, okay. What about that Strahd fella? The vampire with the slick back hair and the angsty backstory. He's always good as a bad guy.
3 years ago, he had a whole adventure to himself.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Storm Giants, then.
April 2016.
Damn it. Get what I did there.
It's not much of an exclamation in hell as a general observation, really, is it?
I suppose not. How about a Severac? That itch. He hasn't been around since they regurgitated his tomb in 4th edition, has he?
Oh no, he upgraded his tomb a couple of years back. He took the Annihilation package when the horror subscription expired.
It's getting darn inconvenient. Beholders.
Xanathar, last year. The one with the heist.
Aboleths?
Saltmarsh, May 2019.
Any evil wizards around? What about that Blackcloak chap?
Big Mega Dungeon in 2018.
Elemental Lords?
2015.
Bandits?
Vandelva, 2014.
I suppose we have no choice then. Lunch break's over. Couldn't they just have dredged up a Cthulhu or a Death Knight or something? Nah, devil's work's never done. I'm seriously considering unionising. Shall we dive into our topic of the week?
Yes, we should.
Okay,
The mysterious, the elusive, the wrapped in a mystery, wrapped in a riddle, wrapped in an enigma. The world of Vast Kaviya.
Vast Kaviya.
Yeah, that's one.
So, Mike,
I suppose Mike
explain
Myler's.
to us what Kaviya is, because Peter looked it up earlier and he came up with, what was it?
A Hindu name meaning poem.
Is that what Kaviya is, or is it something else?
That's
that your
terribly
inspiration?
appropriate, but no, that wasn't where I started with. I just thought Kaviya sounded like
Okay.
appropriate to go with the word vast all the time. Like, it just
Well, it's
sounds
not.
good coming off the tongue, which, you know...
So it's not meant to be about a big cave.
So it's just it's a made up word, is it, rather than a?
It is.
Yeah,
it is a
yeah.
made-up word, but I'm very pleased to hear that it means poem, because that fits.
Well, now you can just tell everyone from now on that's what it is. They'll all just think you're really educated and erudite.
I'll take it. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll be doing that from now
These
on.
people haven't met him, have they, Russ? No, I'm sorry. I'm being mean to Mike.
You are being mean.
I
Do you feel ashamed of yourself? You should do.
not even
I mean,
a little
all
bit.
the time. Isn't that the...
So this is a 5th edition setting. D&D 5th edition setting, which you're going to be kickstarting soon?
Actually, we are not going to go with Kickstarter. We're going to try a game on tabletop, which is Yeah.
It's the new kid on the block for those, isn't it?
They've been around for a couple of years. I met them at PAX last year, and I was really impressed with all they want to do and like who they are. So, yeah.
Vast Kaviya. Is it Kaviya we're saying, or Kaviya? Kaviya?
Kaviya. Like you have a cavity, but you take the T out.
Gotcha.
And you replace it with an A.
Vast
Cavity. Sorry, Vast Kaviya.
Vast Kaviya. Endless adventure, bitter conflict, discovery, survival, and glory. What can you tell us about Vast Kaviya, Mike?
It is kind of like my my love letter to Conan the Barbarian and Red Sonja, and specifically Fire and Ice. I really, really love Ralph Bakshi, and I felt Fire and Ice was one of his best films.
Yeah, that is a good film.
So yeah, I mean, I have a bunch of campaigns, and this is going to be my 6th one, and they're all pretty wild. Like Varanthia goes everywhere; it's got every genre inside of it. And then Hypercore is like in the future with superheroes, or 29 Wastelands in the future, and there's been an apocalypse. And I just wanted to do something that was like really classic fantasy. So January or so, I got the idea for it, and I wrote down like the main tenets of the world. And it's this decentralized setting, right? So like, there's no world map. First of all, because I don't want to tell you what your version of Vast Kaviya looks like. And secondly, because Vast Kaviya is super huge. It's like bigger than the biggest planet we've ever seen, which I think is 13 times the size of Jupiter. It's Kappa Andromeda B or something like that.
Right.
But like, I'm not sharing it because it's not a very well made image. I need to do a better job with it. But like North America on like the continent on the planet of Vast Kaviya would be like, if you're looking at it and the whole planet took up your computer screen, North America would be like your thumbnail. Right. And that's how big Vast Kaviya is. So I just wanted to create this huge, open, boundless, like massive. Nobody knows like what's going on over there. Language is an actual barrier. Like for one of the things, like common, right? Like if you're having a conversation in common and you're talking more complexly or in a more complicated fashion than like a 9-year-old would, then you're not speaking in common anymore. You have to share like a real language with them, be it Elvish or Dwarvish or whatever.
Okay. What advice do you have for GMs on how to represent speaking in different languages?
Oh, just if you're having a conversation you don't think a 10-year-old could manage, then you got to switch to a real language that is not common.
Yes, but how at the table? Because languages is something I'm actually really keen on implementing in general, but I've always found it quite difficult. Like online, you have people who belong in polylingual groups. Like, oh yeah, what we do is whenever we're speaking Draconic, we just switch over to Japanese.
Oh, good lord, no. No. I would force people to make like intelligence checks and insight checks if you start to get more complicated than that. Fall back on character stats.
Okay, so common is a basic communication language, but it's not like one that's massively spoken. Okay,
well, and it's massively spoken. It's just simple. Yeah, it's a simple language, only able to convey simple ideas.
Right. Yeah.
You'd never have a play written in common.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe like an RPG skit could be written in common, but not a play.
So anyway, we've got this massive world with tons and tons and tons of stuff going on in it. Does that mean it's kind of like kitchen sinky, sort of like Forgotten Realms, in that you could have dinosaur area over here and like a whole bunch of mage theocracy over here and all this sort of stuff going on?
No, because dinosaurs are everywhere.
Dinosaurs are everywhere. Okay. That is definitely accurate.
And megafauna.
And also magic is... So there is magic. There's no like formal magic. There are no wizards. There are no like easy ritual spells. Ritual spells, I think, take 10 times longer than they normally do. And then if you do have real magic, like if you are a sorcerer or a bard or a cleric, people want you, because the thing that like ties it all together are the warlords, of which there are 20. And I didn't. And this is another thing about Vast Kaviya. It's different from most of my campaign settings. After Varanthia, I started to like make my design teams much smaller because it was super frustrating managing like 40 people. But for Vast Kaviya, I went back to a larger one. So there's like 9 other designers that helped make warlords and therefore regions of the world. And when somebody with real magic shows up, warlords try to get them, because inevitably these people become warlords themselves. And then, start wars and take territory and stuff. So, like, if you are a warlord and you hear, like, oh, there's a sorcerer that's been kicking around to the east about 20 clicks, you send people to go get that person.
Right, yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's recommended in the rules that like you can have more than one caster, but it's going to make you guys targets for like everybody. So generally keep one and then keep their magic on the down low if you can.
Okay, so have you revamped the class system?
I have not, but I have provided an analog to casting. So something that you'll find throughout Vast Kaviya is called raw mana. Did you ever play Final Fantasy VII for the PlayStation?
Yeah, I did, yeah. Years ago,
Raw mana functions a lot like materia does.
Right, yeah, okay.
So, like, you get a piece of yellow raw mana, we'll say, and that lets you cast the spell Lightning Bolt maybe once a day. And then whenever you level up and you've got this raw mana on you, it also levels up to, like, another spell or more uses of that spell. So you do get, like, very specific access to magic, because that also let me tailor, like, what magic you can get to often.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a list of spells that are more expensive too, right? So like create water, create food, anything that creates something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like that you would eat or use for shelter costs 4 times as much as normal to do if the spell is even in there. It's at the GM's discretion whether or not the spell even exists.
Right, okay.
So you can't just like conjure up food in the middle of the desert. You have to have somebody who can actually find it.
So you also have no gods as well, which is unusual for a D&D world.
That is correct. So there are entities, you might say, but they're more like the gods in Warhammer 40,000.
Yeah.
Right? So like there is a Tzeentch, but like is Tzeentch a person or is Tzeentch an idea that just manifests and like it's that sort of conceptualization. We call them spiritual patrons. So like if you're a cleric, you just like what do you believe in determines what domains you might have access to, not who do you sit down and like genuflect.
So
the cleric's a lot more like paladins.
It's more philosophies rather than
yes,
entities.
definitely. It's more philosophies.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So how there's Primeval Thule out there, isn't there, which is kind of Conan inspired.
That's one of the reasons this is decentralized, because I want and the other reason is like a lot of people spend a lot of time in their homebrew worlds, right? Like I imagine you guys have homebrew worlds, right? You've been developing with your groups and stuff, so like why abandon that? Like so Vast Kaviya it can stand on its own as a campaign scene, don't get me wrong, it definitely can. But it's also kind of built to be this like supplemental resource that you can include in Primeval Thule or your homebrew world because it's all these like very basic ideas. You don't require the rest of Vast Kaviya to include Kalar, the psionic dinosaur lizard lord. You can just have him be in a jungle in Chult if you're playing in Galarian.
Right, yeah.
Okay. I've noticed you said the world is primitive, but its peoples are not.
Yes.
By which I infer you mean it's got a lot of cultural sophistication, but not so much technological? Was that?
You nailed it. You nailed it, man.
Okay.
There are agrarian and that kind of developments, but technologically, like because the world is so disparate and spread out, technology just isn't really a thing. You might see people with iron weapons, but that's probably the top level.
Yes. I think I saw on the website you mentioned that steel might as well be magical.
Pretty much.
How are you reflecting this mechanically in some fashion?
There
steel
are
weapons
rules.
get bonuses, or
no? The core 5th edition rules already have stuff for like if you're wielding a stone weapon or iron and steel are effectively the same thing in D&D 5e, so I haven't messed with that. But no, the core rules have stuff covering super primitive weapons.
Okay, right. So you could have so like often bronze is considered has been very popular. Like the search for tin has always been like a big factor in Bronze Age civilizations.
Yeah, I want to say like it's been a while since I actually looked at the primitive weapons rules, but I feel like if you roll natural 1, there's a chance your weapon breaks or your weapon just busts.
Okay. I noticed that you said the world has over 100 moons and a lunar calendar, and the world's seasons are long, so the environment seems to be playing quite an important part in your thinking about this game. Is that right?
Yeah, I want it to be a little bit more like gritty, old school adventure, and I feel like a lot of modern D&D stuff that I really like and enjoy and write. Kind of hand waves that for like higher drama and action and more characterization and stuff. I want it to be like a real problem for your characters to travel 100 miles. I don't want it to be like, oh, we cast Overland Flight or we got a magic carpet. or we just hired a bunch of mercenaries and took a caravan. Like, that's boring. Like, we can do better than that.
So traveling should be consist of a series of interesting encounters during the day. And it's also quite important to the balance of 5th edition that you do have this these number of encounters. Was it six medium encounters per long rest or something? Yeah.
I think is it 6? I thought it was still 3.
6 to 8 is
6 to 8. Jesus. Okay.
Yeah. It's a lot to fit into an adventuring day, but obviously this would be a resource draining event rather than like a combat encounter, because 6 to 8 fights per day of a session would be really
I was going to say, like, normally
it would be pretty boring, to be honest.
Used to be 3 encounters that each eat up 33% of your resources.
Yeah, I mean, it's been long observed you're supposed to have social, combat, and exploration as the 3 pillars of D&D, and exploration is kind of missing. Very few rules. So I was just wondering what thoughts you'd have on that.
Oh, okay. Well, the opening adventure, which is in the back of the book, it actually starts in this place called Raycon Village, and you've never been more than like 20 miles from your home. And the region that a whole day's travel, basically.
Yeah.
And the whole region is, I think, about 200 miles across each way. And you have to travel like all the way across the map to save all the people that got like stolen from your village. So there's that. It opens up with that, which I feel is a really good like preamble for like, this is the world. It's huge. You have no idea how big it is. It's the first time you're really like setting out beyond the North Lock to like see the world itself. There should be wonder. There should be like rumors. There should be like no certainty really to like what you're going to encounter. But for exploring past that, I have this system I developed in 29 Wasteland, which is also decentralized. It's just like sci-fi pop. Actually, all of Vast Kaviya started because people from 29 Wasteland were like, please give us more warlords. And I just didn't have another book of apocalyptic warlords in me, so I made a book of primeval warlords that can easily be included, right?
Yeah.
The exploration rules are built off of the ones found in 29 Wasteland, and it's like, so you reach a new region, and then the GM can randomly determine like what the terrain is, and like if the terrain is passable or if it's like super difficult, because like a lot of it's like, you know, volcanic fields and acidic seas with like, you know, noxious vapors that can knock you out and kill you and stuff like that.
Yeah, fields full of metal, steel sunflowers that will turn around and petrify you, all that sort of jazz.
That's a little bit more specific and dangerous than what I had, but yes, that's generally the right idea. Yeah.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
There's also a thing here where you say there's virtually no economy and people trade goods rather than currency. Does that mean you've removed currency from the game completely, or is it just
I've not removed it entirely, but like it's much preferred to barter because like the value of a pack or some rope is much greater in a world where you can't just roll into a store and buy it.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, gold is still there, and it'll still have a part to play, but it's much, much reduced from normal.
I mean, I quite like playing fighters. It's just something I enjoy doing. Perhaps even one day I'll get to play a paladin. You never know. So, things like chainmail,
Will you be a heroic paladin, though? One of those newfangled heroic paladins.
Yes,
an elven paladin, maybe.
Oh yes, and yes, a high elf paladin of heroism. Yes, that could well be my next character, or perhaps not. But yeah, so like you're playing one of these like characters like that.
No chain shirt, no breastplate, no half plate, no ring mail, no chain mail, no splint, no plate, no crossbows, and the GM determines what toolkits exist.
That and. I'm not trying to be critical or mean here. Have you what sort of things have you put in to replace these class features for the martial classes?
Oh, there are archetypes for every single class. In addition to that, I mean, like barbarians don't really need armor. So, like, you're just talking about fighters and rogues and rangers, and I mean, I guess paladins too.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there are archetypes that all have AC bonuses to cover the gap. Aside from that, though, I mean, like. The balancing factor there is that none of the enemy NPCs will have access to this armor.
Right.
So, I mean, like, you're really just going to be hitting disparities when you're coming up against creatures that are very high CR. And even then, I mean, I don't know. I'm not that worried until you start hitting bonuses of, like, plus 11 or so. And that's not till, what, CR 9, CR 12s? So
quite high level. So shields are obviously going to be pretty useful because, definitely. Like, I mean, hide armor 14 plus 2, so AC 16 is going to be quite challenging to achieve.
And most stuff will have like simple weapons, right? So like you're going to see way more great clubs than you're going to see great swords, because how are you going to forge a great sword?
Of course, yeah.
I'm loving the logo here. It's reminding me a bit of Dragonlance. In that you've got a horizontal weapon there, and then you've got the name of the setting sort of entwined around it. You've got a sword rather than a lance, obviously, but it's just got that slight sort of first edition D&D feel about it.
Yeah, it's very much got that whole Conan vibe as well, with the skull as part of the hilt.
Is there a skull
on the crosspiece? Yeah. It's built into the crosspiece.
Yeah.
It's like a bird skull.
Yeah.
It's called Vast Kaviya. It's inspired by Conan and Red Sonja. Of course, there is a skull on the sword. What sort of game do you think you're playing, my friend?
That's where I keep all my skulls.
Absolutely.
It's good to hear. I do my own graphics, and sometimes I get a lot of graph for that. So no, thank you very much. It's a well received compliment. Thank you.
And what's this monster here with the single eye? Like a large cat-like, wolf-like creature with a single...
sort of a cyclops wolf.
It's a devastation dog. So, like, there are 12 creatures included in the book, because there's a bestiary chapter 2, which I think has a total of 30 creatures. 12 of them are devastation creatures, where you might not immediately recognize... devastation dog, maybe you will, because the eye. But they're, like, meant to be... surprises. So like you look, you're like, oh, it's a wolf or whatever. It's running around in the underbrush. And if you make your perception check, you see that it's more than a regular wolf before it like obviously starts, howling death and other terrible stuff that a regular dog could never do.
Devastating.
Exactly. So like there's a devastation cockatrice, there's a devastation hydra, there's a devastation griffin, hippogriff, ooze, and they all like look like what adventurers would expect, and then behave and display abilities that hopefully surprise and terrify and excite players.
And you have an allosaur of some description,
T-Rex.
which I call...
Kalar the Lizard Lord. Talk about Kalar. So he's one of the warlords. So he's in Sickle Canyon. He's the top dog of top dinosaur of Sickle Canyon. It is a bunch of different psychic dinosaurs that got their power via like the many moons shining light through like a series of waterfalls that they drank the water from, and then boom, they're intelligent, they got psychic powers. They're also where the Tainokar are thought to have come from, the Tainokar being a race of saurians, dinosaur folk.
There is nothing worse than a dinosaur with psychic powers, I've got to say.
Kalar's pretty terrifying.
That would ruin your day.
It's going to be a big problem.
He's not the biggest warlord in there. The biggest warlord in there is the only person with a castle. And his name Varasul the Necro Lord. He keeps like a circle, like just a giant mound of skeletons around. And then whenever he wants to move his castle, he makes them pick it up and just kind of like march forward, which I feel is like right there. Ralph Bakshi, Fire and Ice, I can see that like on the screen. Fire and Ice, that's not what happens. It's about a glacier being moved, but like it's the imagery that I want for Vast Kaviya.
So what else can you tell us about this world? It's coming to crowdfunding very soon. When should we expect to see it appear?
October 8th.
October the 8th.
And there will be a free primer that is at least 39 pages long. I keep reluctantly adding content to it.
Okay.
Because I just finished it. I really like it. I want to see how it looks on the page. And I'm like, oh, that looks so good. I have to show that to people. So the free primer will include Kalar the Lizard Lord, like the full entry, as well as... I didn't choose exactly what went in the primer. I kind of threw it up to the design team, and I was like, let's all vote. So Kalar is one of mine. That got voted in. I was very pleased. The other one is something I was actually jealous about, because it's a really good idea. So it's called Togai the Awakened Reef. And it's this hive mind made out of coral reef that influences the villagers that live on its islands around it, and or that it surrounds, rather. And then every year the coast, like the seasons change, and like hurricanes come in, and they destroy the coral reef. Everybody goes shitballs insane because like the hive mind goes insane, and they turn into like murderous savages until the reef like collects itself again, and it gets a little bit smarter and a little bit more powerful and a little bit stronger every single time. It's a really strong concept by I think Matteo Piavinelli. I'll say his name wrong. Matteo Piavinelli. I believe is in Italy because it's a global team. Yeah. So that's in the primer. There are a couple of the global rules are in the primer. Like the world's massive, it's primitive, it has no gods, spiritual patrons, no formal magic, and the whole little magic thing. So there's a brief one-page explanation of 6 of those rules. And then Kalar and the Mash both have their own layer maps or regional maps. And then the Bestiary right now has a Barbarian Thief, which is Conan, right? Then Dunya, which actually comes out of one of the warlords. Written by Charlene Gilchrist, I think her name is. Yeah, got it right. Shireen Gilchrist. And the Dunya is it looks like a grassy hill when it lays down. It's even got plants on its back, but it is a sort of armadillo kind of thing. Nature Guardians, which are terrifying elementals that are CR 12. The Pachacoli, which are alpha predators in the vein of what were they called? Death Claws in Fallout. So it's kind of like a
so
primordial.
Really dangerous.
They're CR 14 baddies. Yeah, they're terrifying.
Damn, that's gonna be a problem.
Then and I might rename this again, the Plemetusaur, who I might just call a Droposaurus, but it's a drop dinosaur. So it's like a dinosaur that specifically drops out of the branches of jungle trees. And then the Devastation Cockatrice and Hydra are the Devastation creatures in the primer. The Tinokar race entry is in the primer, as is the Mongrel Folk race entry.
Yeah.
And then one of the class archetypes, the Hive Mind Warlock Patron, which is based off of the Mash there. And then the new ability score, which is mana, and then character sheets. Mana is kind of... So I have... In each of my campaign settings, there's a thematic ability scores, which is a way to say a narrative-heavy ability score. This one's mana because the world has all this primordial magic going around. So whenever you make a character, you're okay, my character aligns most with one of these 6 elements: air, earth, water, fire, good, evil. And then whenever you think there's a situation that you want an extra help with or whatever, and depending on how close your element is and what you want it to do, you make a check, and on a success, something narrative happens and falls your way. So the example in here is somebody with the... Go ahead.
So you bring quite a storytelling element to the base rules. That's something of your own that you're adding in. Is that right?
That is correct. Yes, it's a little bit of a bullshitty element too. Because I enjoy that. That's kind of one of the reasons we're all sitting there doing stuff.
Oh, of course, yeah. You've got to tell the story. Yeah, but it's nice to have the mechanics support what you're actually trying to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got your plenty of different societies for people to use as resources or actually run in the game itself. So this is essentially what you're trying to do with Vast Kaviya. Have a resource book almost where people can use it and bring it into stuff with all these different monsters and so forth.
20 warlords, 21 different regions/areas, and over 100 stat blocks all told.
That's a lot of stat blocks. Okay, yes. Great stuff. One of the things that will be interesting to players is, have you got any new player-created races or races for players to do?
So there's Mongrel Folk and Tinokar, the dinosaur folk, like I mentioned. Then there's also the Kanka, which are insects, and they get very different on their sub-races.
Nice. I had noticed almost at the bottom of the page there is a gecko with bat ears, a Tina Turner fright wig.
That's a Mongrel Folk. It's a Mongrel Folk.
Right, I see. So that's why they have a brightly coloured wing.
Oh, right, there we go. Okay.
A fawn's
they
leg?
They used to be called mongrel men in older D&D editions, but that's, obviously sexist for no good reason. So yeah, they're Mongrel Folk.
Mongrel Folk. Right. So the problem with mongrel men was the men part of it. I understand.
It's so ridiculous. You can be all these different freaking animals, but you're still a dude. Come on.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So there's also plant people called Alai. My favorites, which are spirit parasites called Utini. So when you get your second death save and you fail it, you can, instead of staying in the body, kind of change into a psionic cloud form a la vampires.
What are they called?
And then if you... Otuni, I'm sorry.
No, I was just thinking, that the Jawas say in Star Wars, and they go, Wootini!
There we go.
That's what I thought you said.
And so we're going to have all this exciting stuff hitting which crowdfunding platform?
Game on Tabletop.
Which might be new to a lot of people, because I've never used it before. Yeah. I know Paizo used it recently, and that was the first I'd ever heard of it.
All of the Torg recent Torg games all use Game on Tabletop.
Right.
So I'm kind of hoping that there will already be a base of people who are down for this kind of like primordial.
And that's 8th of October. That's your date you've committed to.
Yep, till I think November 3rd.
Now, all you got to do now, Peter, is remember all that for when it appears and guess the Kickstarter.
Yes, and what it's called.
Also, I mean, people who are interested, you can go to vastkaviya.com, VASTKAVIYA, and there's a mailing list you can join, and I will send you the primer early, and then you'll get notified as soon as it launches, because Morrus taught me that mailing lists are amazing.
They are extremely important when you're setting up a Kickstarter, yeah.
And this is coming through Legendary Games, too. They're going to be my publishers for this one. And I should mention that we're only looking for $2,500, so it's not like we're asking for $1 million. Yeah. And you can get it in hardcover or softcover or PDF. And then there's also like, if you want to get like virtual tabletop maps, there's a pack of like 23, I think it is. And then there's a GM screen as well, and a adventurer's handbook.
So how much of this is done so far?
Yes. That was going to be my question.
Well, I got there first, so now it's my question.
You did, yeah. Well, yeah.
I'd say 95% of the book is written. Like all the short stories done, all the race, except for the ones I mentioned, are done. All the warlords are done. All the classes are done.
Cool. So what's your estimated delivery?
I have it as June 2020, but my personal like internal deadline is more like February. I just have it as June because, like, what if we hit a bunch of, like, unlocks, stretch goals and stuff, and, like, content gets added to the book, and so on and so forth. So I want to give myself a good, long window to make sure that I don't miss it.
Wow. Good luck with it. So, Mike, thanks for coming on. Good luck with the Kickstarter. Not the Kickstarter, the Game on Tabletop crowdfunding campaign.
Yes.
Thank you.
We'll mention it on October the 8th when it launches. And with that, I think it's time to sign off.
Okay. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, Mike. Best of luck with your crowdfunding project, and hope to hear from you again soon.
Yeah, thanks again for having me on, and you guys are great. This was fun.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Apparently I now have to read this to you. This is the official podcast of Morris's unofficial tabletop RPG news, which you can find at enworld.org. You can find show notes at morris.podbean.com or wherever you found the podcast. If you feel like they deserve it, you can support the show on Patreon. In return, you will receive exclusive bonus content. Just go to patreon.com/Morris. If you're interested in his babbling nonsense, you can follow at Morrus on the Twitter. Send your emails to morrispodcast@gmail.com. Not all of your emails, just the ones you want us to see. That's it. I'm bored now. You can go away. Shoo, off you go. Goodbye. Get out of here.